Hey, good morning, justice seekers, crime fighters. Let me see if the lighting's okay. I'm not going to worry about it because this is like a whole new setup, as you can see if you've seen my other shows. And I have some material. It's the weekend, so I'm taking it easy. I got lots of other stuff I got to get done. And just chilling out, relaxing, all that good stuff, right? But you know how I am. OCNY family, Justice A to Z. Good morning. I'm so happy to see you here. I don't know if you want to share your first name, CNY family, but that's what I call you. And I was super excited to see that you had done a part 2 to your what did you call it? I wrote it down here. Something about the red flags, like China. The case has more red flags than China, part 1, which I've seen almost the whole first half of, and then you just did the part 2. And if you don't feel like sharing your first name, that's cool too. Actually, I don't share mine, do I? Call me Justice, call me Zena. Just don't call me late for dinner, right? Because yeah, we all got to be careful about, it sucks, but there's stalkers. There's especially, I think, cyber stalkers when you're working on a case. I was just trying to catch up with the What's the Obsession from last night that I missed because she got on super late. And hi, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. She got on super late and I was already asleep. I kept checking and checking and checking. And let me just say, everything I say is my opinion only. And it's purely for the sake of conversation, trying to open up a discussion, hopefully education and entertainment value. So, I've been taking all these notes. It's kind of fun. I mentioned yesterday, I didn't realize how much fun it would be to do true crime. I thought that it would be interesting because I'm a huge true crime aficionado, and I like justice, but I thought it was just going to be a ton of work and not very enjoyable. And it's a ton of work, but the enjoyment that I find kind of almost cancels out that work. And really, not that you guys want to hear about my problems, but the work is, like getting your camera right and the lighting and the sound and all those things. I'm trying not to worry about because you guys have said we don't care. We're not here for the scenery. And I love that. I do. I keep wanting to wear my North Star Tahoe hoodie though, just to show you guys. And I've had it forever and ever. I don't even know how old it is. I'm surprised I still have it. And I do have my Saturday morning bucket of coffee. So let me jump right in and cough first, right? Frog in the throat. Sorry. Watched The Obsession last night. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I love taking this stuff in while I'm doing things like folding laundry, sewing, making jewelry. I've mentioned the work that I do for money. I can do it when I'm there. Not only can I, my boss actually encourages me to do whatever it is that I want. So, it's amazing. It's an amazing job. I'm just so happy with it. As long as it doesn't say Truckee, LOL. It doesn't. It says North Star at Tahoe. But see, that's my point. That Truckee is Tahoe, or it's at Tahoe. A lot of locals have said, wait, no, we have no affiliation with Truckee. They're not Tahoe at all. So they're kind of like the redheaded stepchild of Tahoe, let's say. I like that saying. And I've got my cool little, this is called a Y ball. And I know you guys don't want to hear about my Y ball, but it is so cool. It's magnetic. And they have like the red X ball too. And you can just play with it. It's one of those office things. Anyway, just in case you were wondering what that weird blue thing was. So What's the Obsession had a guest on from across the pond who I'm not real familiar with, but she sounded lovely, called At the Scene with Haley V. And they were having a very informative conversation, and they were both talking about their computer systems like completely locking up and crashing at various times, and they both simultaneously froze while they were doing their show. So I thought, well, we all have technical difficulties. Those things happen, but it seems like it happens a lot more when people are covering the Kylie Rodney case. Or for Watts the Obsession, she primarily covers Watts' case, and then once in a while she'll talk about other stuff. And she had just started on the Kylie Rodney case when her whole system completely, in her words, catastrophically self-destructed. And she's got a great system, and she just was shocked. She did say that it was most of her Watts files that were deleted or unsalvageable, but still, it's interesting information, right? So let me just give a brief outline about what I want to cover today. I want to pick up where I left off yesterday and kind of hit home some of these points that I spoke to, but I don't feel like I spoke to them enough. So as you know, I try to rewatch my videos after I've posted them so that I can look for corrections or things that I'd like to do differently. And I feel really good about doing that. It's a big time commitment, as is trying to keep up with all the other fabulous content creators. So, I often give shout outs to some of my favorites. And, yesterday people were asking me, like, did you see the new Paula one? And I hadn't seen it, but now I have. Paula Plunder. And people were asking me if I'd seen the new 24/7, the Speaks Van Holding, and I had not, but now I have. There were a couple others, like the R22 I had seen that. It I thought that there was a newer one that maybe I missed, but yeah, I keep up with him. I think he does great work. And we all have our different perspectives, our different opinions, our different ideas. And so I really like to keep my mind open to many other opinions. I don't care if they aren't consistent with my opinion. If it's somebody that I respect their intelligence and their coverage, it's kind of good to hear different ideas, right? I mean, that's how you progress in your learning and your understanding. I, along with others, have been having issues with crashing and or freezing up during the live. Oh my God, Ashley, that's good to hear you say that. As you know, I have this new computer and it mostly is great. I did notice a few glitches from yesterday, but they were no big deal. Does anyone know if they kept the CRV in holding or have they scrapped it? That is such a good question, Pixie Knickers. I've wondered the same thing. My guess would be that they completely crushed it, like immediately, right? I mean, that's kind of how they've acted with all of the evidence in this case. And yeah, what about her phone? Did they give the phone to her mother, and then did they leave the SIM card in, or did they take the SIM card out? I kind of touched on that yesterday because I knew of a case where they actually gave the family of the murdered victim her cell phone with a missing SIM card and never a word about it. Zav last night said her screen flashed a white screen with words that said something about government and flashed away. Doesn't surprise me. Hey, just got here. There's my moderator. It's MC3POWY with the wrench. So thanks, mod. That's awesome that you're here. So yeah, it's nuts. And I think Zav's whole system had crashed, and Upchurch said he was going to get her a brand new computer. I don't know. Oh, they have, CNY says they have it in the garage across the street from the coroner's office. Someone drove there and was going to go through the car with me on video, but she couldn't get to the vehicle, but she could see it. Wow. Wow. I just hope it wasn't Verna, CNY, because I think she's one of the catfish crew. She was helping Zav, and there's a lot there, so. A lot of people love to help Zav, and for the most part, they're on the same page as Zav, but when you get a lot of people, you're going to get trolls. So that's something that, we all know that trolls are out there, and we especially know that they go hard and heavy on certain cases. And I think this is one of those cases. So that doesn't surprise me what Katie Bug said about Zav last night. And, really, the YouTubers can take it as a huge compliment. Government spending time, even listening to what they have to say, is an indicator that they're right on track, and that somebody is shaking in their boots. So Ryan's phone blew up. Someone is out to stop creators, that's for sure. Yeah. And Ryan has kind of fallen off the case or decided not to be on it. CNY says, I've been having problems with things, but I think it's a little like shadow ban thing because people aren't getting notified of my videos sometimes until the next day. What that happens when you go against them. Ooh, wow. You talking about Verna? CNY, I know she has been working with Zav. I don't think she's working with Zav anymore. I sure hope not, because she's apparently a Catfish crew member. I just try to stay focused on the positive. And like I've said before, of course, I don't know everything. My opinion is my opinion only. So, if I suspect that somebody is insincere or phony or, backstabbing, I'm going to try to be careful with them. No, it wasn't Verna. Awesome. Good. Oh, Verna did like a 180 recently. It's been crazy to watch. Oh, well, in a good way or a bad way? I mean, I thought that Megan kind of did a 180-ish on What's the Obsession, actually. That was weeks ago. But I don't know. I mean, that Megan character is a wild card. And I don't think she was the best person for them to send forth. But I think that, they couldn't get anybody to do that. She's been fighting people in chats. Well, Maud, keep an eye for her. I don't know if she goes by Verna in the chats anymore or if she's changed her screen name, but we don't need that, right? I mean, who is this RT person? Okay, CNY, I was just wondering. Okay. I've got so many notes and you guys have so many good things to say. So I'll try to do a little bit of both. But I'm so glad I've caught what I've caught too. So CNY says, when you go against the narrative. Yeah. So, I take it as a huge compliment. I think I've been scouted a little bit by the Catfish crew. And as much as it's not anything that I'm interested in having as part of my situation here, if that is what's happening, then yeah, that's flattering. That they care what I think or what I say. And as an artist, I used to say that imitation is the highest compliment, right? And I still think that. So, for anybody who feels like someone's copying them or stealing their ideas, it's like, yeah, you want your credit, but it is a huge compliment. So don't be too upset about it. And as a creator, I kind of think that getting trolled is, in a twisted way, a compliment. Crime and crochet are my hyper focus. I dropped my first video last night. Oh, cool. Crime and crochet. That's exciting. I'll try to check that out. Thanks for letting us know. And anybody who's a creator, please feel free to put your links or your information in the chat. I kind of got that idea from Kelly with What's the Obsession, that she's just really inviting with other people's opinions and perspectives. And I think that's great. I think that we can all work together and get a lot further than we can, trying to like monopolize the show and say, oh, what I think I know. And I've done all this work, so I know it. Let's see, Justice, I have a major question. Did you not see Megan having some kind of mental health issue coming from your background? The way she speaks reminds me a lot of myself, and I ramble before I get to the point. I don't want to sound mean or condescending, and certainly mental health issues are nothing of that nature. She sounded drunk to me in the beginning, and in the end, she just didn't sound altogether, she didn't sound like the sharpest individual. However, she did sound authentic at times. And I never really thought about a mental health issue with her. I just thought that she came out to lie. She came out to try to control the narrative. And, lying isn't necessarily a mental health issue. I mean, it's in the diagnostic and statistical manual as confabulating and what's the other phrase? The compulsive lying. Compulsivity is something that I'd really like to address because it's not just addictions like we've talked about, but things like assaults and CP, if you know what I'm talking about. I hate saying it. Um, and homicide, serial killers, those things are all addictive. I've talked about the power that politicians and people in positions of power get addicted to. So what happens, like you'd look at somebody like potentially Sammy, and these people cannot control their impulses. So the poor impulse control is a sign of poor mental health, but it's also a sign of, say, like a compulsive gambler. A lot of times these people can't control themselves. Like if you've heard Chris Watts talk about the night that everybody in his family was murdered, he spoke as though he was a robot or a puppet being controlled by some evil dark forces, which I'm sure he was in a sense. She sounded like someone was hovering over her, in my opinion. Right. And yeah, you don't know. I mean, like I could have somebody sitting in the corner right now saying, you better say what I told you to say, or, I'm going to do something that's going to be really upsetting. And that is something to keep in mind. The threats. So, I spoke yesterday about the frenetic energy at the first day of presser and search, like August 9th. I think that was their first presser. Um, and, that was the day where Sammy spun around. But rewatching that video, which I rewatched yesterday, it was live on ICMAIL from August 9th. Everybody in the law enforcement seems exceptionally nervous and very much like they're performing. So I that's my opinion, but I think if anybody else watched it now, knowing what we know, that might be your opinion too. Um, and I've been around searches, I've been around law enforcement, and generally speaking, they're neither. They're not frantic, they're not nervous. There's usually a very cool, calm, and collected attitude because they're happy to be doing their presentation, they're happy to be sharing this information with the public to try to help balance out some of this animosity. They're happy to be doing the search because the search needs to be done. So it's really striking to me now watching how freaking nervous all of them seem. The California Highway Patrol, the sheriffs. And at that point in time on August 9th, doing the search at the Prosser family campground, they're in Nevada County, obviously, but Placer County was still in charge of the case because it was a missing persons case at the time. So, there's a lot of collaborating, and professionals will not step on each other's toes. I mean, it's unprofessional to critique what another professional says. CNY family says, yes, they have done that in all the pressers, I feel like, especially after they find her car. Moon looked so nervous. Did you see that? And Shannon Moon is the Nevada County Sheriff. And yes, she definitely seemed really nervous. And yeah, they all did. They all seemed like they were keeping a lid on it, keeping it zipped. I mean, it's just the sense of that they're hiding so much. And then when that one captain, Sam Brown, said, we had the boat ramp closed so that we could cover up. I mean, not cover up, so that we could cover up. Wait, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying cover up. They're all looking at each other like they're gonna freaking kill him. I mean, it's funny, not funny. Yeah, exactly. Brown said cover up. Yeah, it's like I said, funny, not funny, right? Um, so I spoke about the Martha Moxley case a little bit, and I didn't really complete those thoughts. That Martha Moxley was also killed by her friends, or would I say frenemies. Allegedly, she was killed by the next door neighbor, Michael Skakel. And he had all kinds of crazy stories about what had happened. And it took forever to get him prosecuted, like 20, 25 years. Then he gets out on a appeal, and then he gets back in because they have more evidence, and then he gets back out again on an appeal. So he's been put in prison twice that I know of, 20 years, 25 years after the fact of murdering his next door neighbor, the sweet and innocent seeming Martha Moxley. Also sexually motivated. And I fully suspect that Kylie was a premeditated murder, sexually motivated, potentially out of the jealousy from a rival female that maybe even had a crush on her, and potentially to drug her and for people to assault her and have relations with her without her consent. So I think it was Mags who let that word kind of do a brain seepage, where she said that, when they were trying to shove the bong rips in her face without my consent. I think she said something like that. I'm pretty sure. I'm rewatching all that stuff, so I'll readdress that. But it was really wild. It was like, and my boyfriend wasn't there, so yeah, Kylie didn't necessarily have a boyfriend there to protect her either. Not that anybody should need to have a boyfriend to protect them, right? What cover up was to cover up his Freudian slip? Yeah. Yeah, that was insane. Yes, I agree about that. Sammy's description of what Kylie was wearing came across a bit intimate. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember when she took her belt off when we were peeing in the woods, popping a squat. And no, nobody's taking off their entire belt to go to the bathroom outside. That's not how it works. She gave way too much detail of some things and then not nearly enough detail of other things. And that is always a huge red flag. So let's see. Go back if you haven't already, or if you've missed it if you've never seen the Red Flag Ronnie 1 and Red Flag Ronnie 2 that Ryan Upchurch did. Those, to me, are masterpieces of stand-up comedy, which actually is what Ryan Upchurch started his YouTube career with. But they're also masterpieces of a whole lot of valid information packed into a 15 or 20-minute thing. So if you are not familiar with the Red Flag Ronnie 1 and 2, if you missed those, just those two that are probably about half an hour, 35 minutes together, just watching those two will catch you up on everything you missed, basically. So on that first day at the presser/search, August 9th, Sammy, who was, in the newscaster's words, organizing crews of community members to search. Sammy Smith is organizing crews of community members to search. Wouldn't that be done by like a sergeant, like somebody in law enforcement with 15 years experience? Because that's kind of central to everything. And nothing's as easy as it seems, right? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So Sammy Smith says, is anyone willing to go to Reno? Okay, you, perfect. And, I don't know if she was talking to Jagger and Kate, because we all know that they went to Reno. And again, the news followed them to Reno. And for what? So that Jagger can show them his like inspiration point where him and Kylie would hang out in the car and get it on. I mean, seriously, that was where he took them to, right? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Um, so who rented the campground space for the high school graduation party? Because, when you go to a national park system campground space, it's all extremely organized, and you need to fill out a form with your name and address and phone number and pay for it. And I've heard people say that they didn't rent a campground space because they were all reserved already, or they were all in use already. And so I don't know the details about that. I don't know if they if the sanctuary is just like a little campground community area where you don't need to rent the space. But parks are highly monitored. I mean, there's rangers everywhere. There's groundskeepers everywhere. There has to be, because you're dealing with the public and you're dealing with the woods, and people get weird, right? Let's see. I missed your lives, but watched later. So awesome. Oh, thank you. CNY family. Funny they said she had to take off her belt to pee, but was wearing a bodysuit. Right. Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, a permit. Thank you for that word. CNY family. I swear, COVID just kind of fried the brain with, I had it briefly earlier in the summer, but it really made it hard to speak. Makes it hard sometimes to come up with the right words, even when they're really simple. So, yes, there's supposed to be a constant ranger patrol. Absolutely, because people are weird. The public is freaking weird. And people will try to get away with all kinds of ridiculous stuff. They'll try to camp without paying. And, those camping fees aren't that cheap. And when you look at it nationwide, I mean, that's a huge cash cow for the national park system. Absolutely. So the 1236 phone call that is really not been addressed, the one where Sammy says, let's see, I wrote a bunch of notes this morning about this to get her precise words. Okay, she called when I saw her. She was supposed to give me a ride home because I had asked her to give me a ride home. I was making sure to find her. She called me as I was in the car, in the passenger seat. I said, I'm in the car right now. I'm getting driven home now. Those are all her exact words. Okay, so that's the 1236 phone call. And then she goes on to say, and I could hear that she was at the party. I could hear all the people in the background. So I knew she wasn't in her car. Just a lot of bizarre stuff. Has anybody in the audience here, any of the viewers, seen the movie that came out this past summer, starring Renee Zellweger, and I believe she produced it as well, and it's called Something About Pam, I think. It's a true story, and I thought, why is Renee Zellweger doing this? And then one of my friends told me it was really good, and I watched it, and I agreed. And so supposedly it's a true story about this woman who's like a real estate agent who's been convicted of being a serial killer. And it's super creepy. And that character of Pam is super creepy. And her character reminds me a lot of the main characters in this situation. Even something that she says, and stuff. So, you might hear Sammy say it. You might hear some of these other people say it. But Pam said it a lot in that movie. And Renee Zellweger did that movie very true to life. She'd say things like, and then he told me that he was going to kill me and stuff. It's just like, what? Really weird. But I've heard that and stuff come out of maybe Mags or Kate or definitely Sammy, where it's just not appropriate to summarize everything with and stuff when you're talking about an investigation, when you need to be really specific. Let me read a few of these. I keep looking up right in time to see CNYs. Sam Brown said, just because that last ping happened, it doesn't mean it wasn't used after. What? Last ping is last ping, right? But it's like them protecting Sammy and her other lies. Right. Right. And yeah, the last ping, it seems like phones ping about every 5 minutes with certain apps, and about maybe once every 8 hours without an app. So somewhere between once every 5 minutes and once every 8 hours. So what a nice coinky dink that it pinged at 12:33 right before it went into the water at 12:33 and a half, right? I mean, that's so convenient. And there's so much in this case that is like that, where it just fits together too well that you know that it's premeditated, or that it's being masterminded. Did you catch when Sam Brown said her last ping was at Prosser, but that doesn't mean that was the last place she was? Pretty interesting. You know what, CNY? I honestly didn't really catch that until you just said it. So thank you for pointing that out. 12:36. I'm still waiting to learn about. And that's my question, is are we ever going to learn? Is that going to be addressed in a final report? Because I'm kind of thinking that they're going to try to skip over that and everything else. If they want to say her car actually went into the water with her in it at 12:34 on the night or the morning of Friday night, Saturday morning, August 6th, then they have to admit that they are all buffoons that wouldn't be able to find the nose on their face, right? I mean, seriously. Really, you want to admit to that kind of incompetency, like beyond incompetency? Like, probably a 3-year-old literally could have stood there on the beach and seen it, literally, right? That's pretty much the essence of my video. Will we ever know the truth? I think we might. I think that you know, us web sleuths have some skills and some knowledge and some experience. And I'm not really saying myself so much as a lot of these other web sleuths. Some of them are operating from across the pond and they do amazing work. It's almost like they can see more clearly the whole picture because they're so far away. One that I rarely mention, and I should mention her so much more often because she's absolutely amazing, is Grizzly True Crime. She is just so sharp. And I feel like I always forget to mention her because it's almost like a given. Like, you don't even need to mention her. She's just kind of part of the establishment of true crime on YouTube. So, and there's so many other good ones too. You guys have heard me many times refer to Harsh Reality and Armchair Detective. Um, Crime Stories Obsessed UK. I think I said it wrong the other day. I said Crime Scenes Obsessed UK. I apologize for when I mess up the names, and especially if you're then trying to find them and then you can't find them. My daughter, who is 10, has been around me while I have talked about this case. And when they said accident, my daughter goes, they sound like a bunch of idiots, even though I know it's not an accident. Oh, that's too funny. My youngest is 10 also, CNY. And yeah, sometimes I try not to talk about the stuff with my family, but I do a little bit, and I always like to get their impressions. Um, you know, my son, who's 18, who's the same age as Kylie, he turned 18 in June. Just the other day, he said, "Oh, I didn't realize she was homeschooled," as if in his mind that made a very big difference with the whole scheme of things. And, I didn't go into it with him, but I can see where, him being that age and him knowing about homeschooled kids. And again, all of our kids were kind of homeschooled for the end of the school year 2020 and some of the school year 2021, right? That was just part of the pandemic. Have a great day, Ashley. And Sam is that friend that'll stab you and smile in your face. Absolutely. Like I always use the term with her, frenemy. She's an absolute snake. And I just think it's interesting that her initials are SS. And, early on in the case, she just made it abundantly clear that you couldn't trust anything about her. Nothing she said made sense, even when you tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Um, she just didn't speak properly. There were so many things that she said that just sounded so odd. And again, I was writing down some of these this morning. Let's see if I can find one of them because I thought it was super interesting. Just the and stuff. She says and stuff a lot. And I think I have it on this one. Nope, I don't have it on this one. So I'm not finding it. That's the problem when I have more than one notebook. And as you know, I've said before, I sometimes lose my notebook. So then I have to start a new one. And then I find the old one. And then I put stars next to the things that I still need to cover. So I have a lot of that right now. Oh, I do. I have it right here. Thank goodness. Thanks for your patience. When she said that she got overwhelmed at the party, and she doesn't usually get overwhelmed. She's usually underwhelmed. She's been underwhelmed a lot. Nobody says underwhelmed. God. And even if you do say it, it's a really weird thing to say. We know little Miss Sammy is never going to be overwhelmed with anything because she is like control freak, right? And she loves a challenge, right? I mean, you can just tell she's one of those people. And when she was in the Tony Dodge interview in her car, and she said, I have her completely. Oh, gee whiz, I get so confused. What was I saying? I've been really busy. So I spoke to that one yesterday, and I forgot to mention this one so that we could. And she just drops off. Do you think that those videos people are saying are Sammy are actually her? Good question. I honestly don't know. Like you've said in your your red flag China part 1. They certainly could be her. People's looks do change quite a bit. I mean, you guys have probably noticed, I've noticed in my videos, my looks change tremendously just with the lighting, with the clothes, with the hair. I've got 3 different pairs of glasses. I'm wearing the gray ones today that are just like those kind of burgundy purple ones I had on yesterday. And then I have the ones that have the green arm that are a little bit smaller and a little bit more librarian looking. But they're all very similar. So you might not even be thinking, oh, she's got different glasses on today. But, we all look so different with our hair, and the lighting does a lot with changing everything, as does just our mood or our expression, the way we animate our faces. Like I haven't smiled as much in this one as I usually like to, just because I do like to try to keep a lighthearted attitude. It gets so freaking sad talking about it's sad enough that a 16-year-old died, and to think that the people that she thought were her friends had something to do with it is just god awful, which is where it's similar to Martha Moxley and her next door neighbor. I started to talk about the fact that he probably sexually assaulted her because I think there was his semen at the scene of the crime. And he tried to say, well, that was from earlier in the night when he was being a peeping Tom and sitting in a tree watching her get dressed in her bedroom, and he was masturbating and it dropped down from the tree. And it's just like, really? Okay, that's a cockamamie story. So you're trying to explain to us that you're like a monkey in a tree playing with yourself as a cover? Like, come on, like that's not something you would want to have people think about you if you had the slightest bit of normal brain, right? But those boys, those Skakel kids, that there were, I think, 5 of them, and I think the oldest one might have been like 18. I think that Michael is in the middle. And I think that the person that the dad had just hired as a babysitter because he was out of town that night, I think that guy was like 24 or somewhere around there. And it was either his first day at work or his second day at work, but he was brand new and he had no idea what he was getting into. And it completely hosed up his life for years. Of course it did. But the whole family was alcoholic, to my understanding, the father and all the boys. And the mom had just walked out on the dad. The mom was a Kennedy, but the name that she took, Skakel was even higher and mightier than Kennedy. I don't know if you guys know about that, but the Kennedys didn't hold a candle to the Skakels. The Skakels were way up the food chain. Um, let's see, that pic is not her. That doesn't even look like her, in my opinion. That pic has been so photoshopped. I believe it's Sammy in that pic. I think you're talking about the CCTV, and I can see people's point when they speak to that in with that opinion. um, However, I have personally always had the opinion that it is her, and it's just weird because of the pixelation and that they probably did airbrush out a bottle of alcohol that she had under her arm, the arm on this side, like the way she's like holding her hand and stuff. It really looks like she's probably holding something there that's no longer there. Um, and the way you can't see one foot just because of the angle of the leg and the way her hair looks shorter. Again, I think that that could be the angle of the camera and that maybe it looked so stringy that they airbrushed it out just so it would look prettier. I mean, it's hard to say, but we all know from doing true crime that it is really hard to see things in video camera footage and in still shots of video camera footage. So to me, that's not that big of a deal, but I totally understand if it is a big deal to folks. Um, and maybe the point of people that say that is that Sammy was trying to become Kylie. And I'd like to speak to that for a moment. Like yesterday, I was speaking about Jagger becoming Kylie, kind of like the serial killer in Silence of the Lambs that keeps his victim in a um, like a well. Oh God, it's the creepiest thing. Um, I definitely have gotten that feeling from Sammy all along that she was so jealous of Kylie and that she wanted to kind of become Kylie. And, you know, the one thing that she probably could never touch with Kylie, because obviously Sammy's pretty and obviously Sammy's smart and obviously Sammy's talented with her insane acting skills. But my guess is that she probably is not a musician. We probably would have heard about that if she was. And even if she was, I mean, Kylie was an accomplished musician by age 7. I mean, you guys have seen those videos of her with her cute little fiddle. And, you know, she was playing when she was 3. My goodness. And she was, I think, laying down professional tracks about a year ago or a year before she died that I don't know what has happened with those tracks. I think some people have listened to them and spoken about them, and some of the lyrics are dark. It's like she was doing the music, recording with a rapper. Um, do you think she had a thing for Kylie? Yeah. I mean, straight up. Yeah. I think a lot of kids these days, being bisexual or um, they have so many words for it, you know, just fluidity with sexuality. There's not the stigma that there used to be in a lot of communities. And then, you know, you look at Truckee community and it's like all hip and alternative. And um, I just think Kylie was an extremely attractive, what's the word I'm looking for? Very mysterious and very intriguing. She was exotic. That's the word I'm looking for. She wasn't your typical beauty. She didn't have your typical nose or your typical eyes or your typical anything, typical figure. Everything about her was so unique and exotic that, you know, how could you not be drawn to her? How could you not be jealous of her or have a crush on her? You know, she's just gorgeous, just drop dead gorgeous. And, you know, honestly, I think Sammy is pretty much as attractive if she had a personality, if she wasn't so snaky. But you know, you see how snaky she is, and her eyes are so snaky. In Kelly's open discussion that she was having last night on her show, she was speaking to the eyes when you look up to the right, when you look up to the left, and just what she knows. Kelly from What's the Obsession is a behavioral therapist expert. Um, and so she was really breaking it down, which reminds me of one of my favorite YouTubers who I hardly ever talk about because he hasn't been doing anything about covering this case or other cases that I've been focused on lately. And that is Martin Decoder. He is also across the pond, and he's a linguistic analyst. And what he does is he breaks down people's speech patterns in videos. So maybe he could do mine. I'm just kidding. He's so good. I love his style. He's very like acerbic and dry. And I just, you know, I kind of have a thing for that. I think it's kind of cute when people are real like monotone and, you know, try to never show an expression. It can be cute. It can also be creepy. But in his case, I think it works. It's great. So I have put a message out there once or twice before. Please, if anybody knows Martin Decoder or knows how to get a hold of him, ask him to do an analytic breakdown of these video conversations of Sammy, Jagger, Lindsay, Kate, Mags. I mean, all of them. He's so good. If you guys haven't checked out Martin Decoder, I would highly recommend him. He's done a lot on the Watts case with Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts. And he does a broad range of things. But being that he's British, he also does a lot of royalty. So that's kind of his thing. Let's see. Oh, you guys are going to love this one. Remember on that first day in Sammy's, not the first day, I think it was the day after the first day. I think it was August 10th when she had the FaceTime interview with Tony Dodge, and she's sitting in a car. And I think it was that interview where she says, we have 1,000 people on a tip line getting millions of calls a day. It's just like, are you out of control manic or something? Because, you know, you have 16,000 people in that town. So you're saying you have 1,000 people on the tip line and you're getting millions of calls a day? Give me a fucking break, you psycho Sammy. Wow. I'm really waiting for the behavioral panel to do SS and etc. Yeah. Oh, there's a show. Isn't there like a true crime podcast called Behavioral Panel? Because that's not what I'm familiar with, but I have heard of something like that, I think. Hit that thumbs up, everyone. She deserves it. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. I always forget. Please hit the thumbs up button if you like it. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want to, please subscribe. I'll try to speak more articulately accurate. Let's see. And please share. Sharing the videos is really what helps the channels the most, which I didn't know that, but I used to be in a lot of Facebook groups when I first got into true crime, and I was constantly posting people's true crime podcasts that I liked. I'd put them in the comments of the Facebook group, and those channels have taken off. And I would like to put a feather in my cap thinking that I might have had something to do with that, because I shared videos a lot. If I liked the person, like Martin Decoder and Plunder and Grizzly, you know, those are some channels that when they were real small, I got interested in them and I was constantly sharing their videos. So I know Grizzly and Plunder and probably Martin also have just like soared into the stratosphere of the true crime community. and some others that, I don't like to mention the same ones all the time. I'm constantly mentioning Watts the Obsession and Plunder because those two are just top notch. And, Plunder's full time. I believe that that's her career, and that she used to be a journalist for a newspaper or something like that. And then Watts the Obsession has a full time job, and her true crime YouTube is kind of her side hustle, so to speak. So she does really well, and she often has her lives on late night. That girl, I don't know how she exists on the little amount of sleep that she gets. But it's also, and CNY, of course. CNY is phenomenal. When I discovered CNY, I was just like, holy smokes. And you two were very, very small. A couple of months ago, I think you were one of the people that really inspired me to just try it, I and that information that you had dug up online about affidavit the affidavit involving Sheriff Wayne Wu from Placer County. Most people are probably familiar with that by now. If you're not, please look it up. All you have to do is Google like Placer County, Wayne Wu, affidavit, sheriff. It'll come right up. If you're wanting to hear it be read to you, because some of us are like that these days, I had read it as my fourth video ever, and um, sorry about that. I read it as my fourth video ever, and it was because I looked it up with CNY recommending to look it up, and I thought, why is she even talking about that? It just doesn't seem like it's connected. And then I learned real quick, like, yeah, it's totally connected. And still to this day, I think only 650 people, have looked at that video. But I reread it a couple weeks ago thinking, well, now I have more of a following and, many more subs. So perhaps if I reread it, it would get more airtime. And again, I'm not looking for the clicks. I'm not looking for the likes. I'm looking for the information to be more public knowledge because it's so crucial to this whole case. Sunshine Sammy is definitely a sociopath. Absolutely. 100%. And a narcissist. 100%. So the good news is I just looked up the new reading of the affidavit that I did like a week or two ago. I think it was just 1 week ago, and it has like 9,000 views, which is awesome. I've heard people speaking about it in other channels, so it is becoming more widely known. But CNY gets all the credit for that because she was the one who found it. She was the one who drew the connection. I personally, I would have never looked it up. I would have, even if I saw it in Google, I would have just been like, oh, well, that's not anything about this. That's from May 15th, 2022. And it is just so relevant. And the man who wrote the affidavit is a retired, I might not get it right. I think he was the district attorney. Something like that. And then he took it upon himself to write this letter in a public forum because he felt very strongly, even being retired, that it was his ethical duty to do so. And for that, I can thank him. Can we reach out to the man who filed the affidavit? Good question. So, he put it on his own letterhead. And I don't have the name off the top of my head. If anybody does and wants to put it up, that's a really, really good question. And let's see. Yes, thank you, CNY family. And, one of the things I love about CNY family is that she just tells it like it is, like, no sugarcoating. I try to be like that too. I just think there's no reason to sugarcoat this crap. Hi, Justice Warrior. You're building an army. Facts. I'm also new at this. So this is my first live chat. Thank you, Brownies B. I'm glad you brought that up because I do feel like we're an army of truth seekers and justice seekers. And, um, I don't consider myself a leader in this at all. I'm absolutely not. Maybe someday I will be. And if anybody considers me one, I thank you for that. But we're so new at it. Um, but I feel like we can all work together. We can all synergistically what do you call that? The crowdsourcing. That's the term these days, right? Like with when you do like a GoFundMe account, crowdsourcing. When you're doing true crime on YouTube, it's crowdsourcing. So you're putting these ideas out there and you're all feeding off of each other and you're all sharing your information, and it is extremely powerful. And obviously that's why the Catfish crew has been going after one YouTuber after another, and it is annoying and horrible, and it's a compliment in a very twisted way, like I've said. So where are we at? Are we getting close to an hour? Let me make sure I've gotten everything in this one that I was trying for. The Neighbors app, the 1 a.m. topless female on the same night that Kylie disappeared. So for anybody who's not familiar with that, I think most people are. I think it was a Facebook group, an app called the Neighbors app, and it was like a community crime watch app where people in Sacramento said that there was a blonde topless female running, like escaping out of a silver CRV Honda, um, running away, and then got pulled back into the vehicle by other people that were there, which is so horrifying. And then people said, oh, no, it wasn't Kylie. And, I don't care if it wasn't Kylie. It's still horrifying. But it sounds like it really could be Kylie. And I think a lot of us have really suspected that. CNY family, I believe 100% that is Kylie. Yeah, I think you might be right 100%. So, then there's the other video that not a lot of people know about, which is, I mentioned it, I think yesterday, somebody who has been identified as Kylie on a surveillance camera outside of a gated community in Reno a few days after the day she disappeared. So if anybody has more information about that and wants to share that video surveillance camera, there's people that think that was Kylie, or think that they know that was Kylie. Was the passenger window broken when Nick went down? Yes, it was. The passenger side was broken and the two back windows were partially down, at least partially down. One of them might have been down more than the other. And I don't know about that Honda CRV 2013, but I know from other vehicles that I've had that are similar that the back windows usually don't roll all the way down, that, about 6 inches from all the way as far as they go. So check with Lake Time. And I'm not sure what it is that you're referring to, but Lake Time has so many great videos. Lake Time Living is the name of his channel. He has so many great videos about real specific things. He's got a lot of funny videos and a lot that are real serious too. But for the most part, he's kind of a comedian. He's a musician. He's a young, hip, cool kind of guy. And he just puts it out there. I love the ones where he's like talking to himself, where he's like playing two characters, and he just cracks me up. You did not say that about me. Oh, yes, I did. That's one from like last week where he's just, he just gets on these like benders where he'll do like 6 in a day, and it's awesome. It's really entertaining, and they're usually like a minute or two long, and sometimes they're just packed full of facts. Like, he has his receipts and he shows them to you. So I hope you continue doing these daily chats. You're so humble, easy to listen to, and informative. Makes for awesome morning coffee. Thank you. Keep up. That's so nice. K-Mac, thank you. Oops. Oh, keep up, yo. I have Neighbors app and it connects you with your personal community. Oh, good to know. Thank you. And I really like living lake time. Me too. Zena, you are the only channel I watch now. Oh my God. That is like the biggest compliment in the world. Um, like I've said from the beginning, I try, like my little niche that I was hoping to build is kind of like the Cliff Notes version of everything out there. And of course, I don't know everything that's out there, but what I can find and what I can get a hold of and what are my go-tos. And then I try to kind of synthesize it so that people who don't have the ability to put all that time and effort in can have a go-to. And I think that I have a lot of ideas that I have never heard anywhere. And I never try to steal anybody's idea. I always try to credit that channel, that person, like CNY and Lake Time Living and Plunder and Zav Girl and What's the Obsession and Armchair Detective, Grizzly. I could go on and on. There's so many great ones. And Harsh. I talk about Harsh a lot. I am selective which channels I watch too. I am very selective because some of them I'll try to watch because I'm like, oh, well, this is a big channel, so I want to know what they're saying. And I don't want to, I don't want to sound mean, but it's like, I just don't want to waste my time. Like, I'd rather put my time into something more enjoyable that I feel like is also very informative. Um, so there's a lot of channels that I just won't watch that I know a lot of other people do. And, honestly, some of it to me is just toxic. It's like, I don't even believe that they believe what they're saying, that they're just saying what they think um, is going to be popular. Um, and I will hopefully never mention those channels who I think they are because I'm not the know-it-all and I could be dead wrong, and I have seen channels say and do things that I don't like and that I quit watching, and then I go check them out again and they've stopped with that and they're back on track to what I like. So I try to keep an open mind and give everybody a second chance, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Can you tell when that is the case? I won't watch them anymore. Yes, you can tell when that is the case. I won't watch them anymore. Thank you. I was afraid you were asking me to tell. And it's like, no, I really don't want to ever insult anybody. And especially, if I'm not watching them, then I don't really know. So I could easily be jumping to conclusions, right? CNY says, I don't watch a lot of the channels. I only watch this channel, Muse News, Candace Star, and like maybe one or two others. I don't watch any of the big channels. I try to do my own thing. And when you're a creator, it's hard to keep up with all of the rest because you want to create. Like this morning, there were a few that I wanted to catch up on, like CNY. And I only got through like half of What's the Obsession from last night. And some others. I don't even think I looked up Harsh yet this morning. I usually go, he's one of my go-tos. He sometimes does weekends, not always. But anyway, there was a lot of stuff I wanted to check out, Crime and Crochet. And then I just was like, I really want to get on. I love talking to you guys. I am so flattered that I feel like some of you are like looking forward to my show. And that's just like the most touching thing in the world. I've had some of my old friends and family say that they've watched my channel and that they feel like they're doing FaceTime with me. So they really appreciate it. And they think that, it's good stuff. And that's just the coolest. And it also puts it into that framework that as a creator, you really do feel connected to your people. It's like you're speaking the same language, you're the same tribe. And we're all supporting each other. That scanner call in front of the gated community. I will play that tonight in my live. Yes, I hope you can stop by to hear it. 7 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, way cool, CNY. Thank you. I believe that was her, and it led to the neighbors app tip. Wow. I am going to put that in my calendar, and 7 p.m. I can do, last night, I think I fell asleep around 10:30, and I don't think Kelly had started her show yet, which is fine. She's doing her thing. I'm doing mine. I was like dead asleep by 10:30. I woke up before 7. I'm a pretty early riser, even on the weekends. We've got crazy schedules in my household, but I'm one of the first people to bed in my household. And then my spouse, he works graveyard shift. So he's usually still at work when I wake up in the morning and head to work. So, and then I've got kids that, they're teenagers. They like to stay up late, but, people get tired. I am such a huge proponent of getting good sleep, whether that's during the day or at night, doesn't really matter, but we have to have our sleep, all of us. And so I'm really glad that your show is going to be on at 7. I will be awake. and that's my plan for tonight. I'm going to write it down and everything. So, I don't know if you've done panels yet, CNY, or if you're wanting to, but I will be in your chat for sure. Absolutely. That's really exciting. Funky Chick says Dolly made a comment about, can a child go missing in Hawaii so he can be in better weather? I normally will not get into things, but that is just, no, he can't come here to Hawaii ever. Okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but remember, CNY found a connection between, and maybe this is what you're referring to, between Truckee and Hawaii, and that weird cult burger business. I think they have a cult burger business in Truckee that doesn't sell burgers, and a cult business in Hawaii that's connected the two, and I don't think they sell burgers either. And CNY says, I haven't, I don't know how. So I missed part of that. I watched Kelly last night and was hoping to see you on panel. She started it at about 10. Okay. So I was already asleep. Then I passed out right before she started because I kept checking because it usually will start, it'll say that it's going to start. And honestly, maybe I was on there for a minute and fell asleep. I wasn't I? I made a whole bunch of comments. Oh my God. Am I like so brain fogged? I made a whole bunch of comments. I can't believe this whole show. I'm going to have to delete this show now. Okay. So I was on Kelly's show for, I don't know, a good half hour or hour. Maybe I'll have to rewatch it. Anyway, then I tried watching it this morning. I'm sorry. My brain, like I said yesterday, it's usually super sharp, but not 100%. And I guess I will have to blame that on my COVID experience from the summer. I'm kidding. But Kelly is still getting over a really bad battle with COVID. So she was down and out for like 10 days, and you can hear it in her voice. And she's still got the brain fog. So CNY says not a burger joint. Right. But isn't it called Cult Burger? Which, I mean, what a weird name. I could see it if it's a really good burger. Like I remember there was a place called Futterruckers out in the Pacific Northwest. That was the weird name, but it was awesome. And then you have like Five Guys. That's kind of a weird name for a burger joint, but that's also awesome. So, Cult Burger or Smash Burger is another one. There's a few of them that, if you had a super amazing burger joint and called it Cult Burger, I could see like, yeah, all these people that love their burgers, it's kind of like a cult. But this cult burger business, like CNY said, they don't sell any burgers. There's no burgers. Just to say to Z, what do you use? StreamYard or something else? I was Streamlabs OBS, but can't figure out how to do a panel. So if anyone knows, please let me know. LOL. So Kelly with What's the Obsession said that she was going to be doing some kind of StreamYard training this weekend. And I haven't tried any of that, so I have no idea. And I am hoping to learn. So I'm going to try to follow up with that. It leads to a virtual office. Good to know. I'm just cracking up at myself about that I was commenting a whole bunch. Yes, I was. I totally remember now. I was really tired. So I was like obviously half asleep. And I was in there, I was in the live chat, and then I had to just go to sleep. I think I even said goodbye or something. But yeah, I was like fading in and out. So that's totally cracking me up. Oh my goodness. And as you guys know, I don't drink or anything. So I can just blame it all on distraction, I guess. I don't know. My new computer has been a lot of a distraction for me, and I'm so grateful to have it. Just like I'm so grateful to have all of you guys. Um, Godzilla, what, Kylie? I'm not sure what that is. You and Harsh are my two favorites. You know, I feel so complimented for somebody to even say me and Harsh in the same sentence. Um, I think he's great. I love that, like, Harsh was his nickname. He said from high school that, you know, he's always had that personality where he would focus on these things and kind of be the harsh reality. Um, and, you know, I just really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate having like a routine and the structure. I was talking about that yesterday, how important that is to me. Structure is the foundation for freedom. That's kind of a thing that I learned when I worked in patient psychiatry. Um, that with too much freedom comes chaos, and people can really become prisoners of the chaos. Like, you need to have some structure. Um, and I just like that saying that structure is the foundation to freedom, because when you know what to expect, for me anyway, my anxiety level goes way down, and then I can be more in the moment. I am one of these people that does get a lot of anxiety when there's not a lot of structure. So it's nice to have that kind of organization. And one of the things I really wanted to share with you guys that I learned in patient psychiatry is having goal oriented behavior, because that's really what all this is about. That's what, you know, being a functioning person is all about. The goal oriented, it can be, you know, with the goal of going to the bar to get drunk, right? um or going to a party. It doesn't have to be like business stuff, but having goal oriented behavior is absolutely key and crucial in being a functioning person. When a person is not having goal oriented behavior, that's where their mental health is really decompensating. And I just wanted to throw that out there as a piece of information, hopefully, that everybody can relate to and understand. So, you know, I was talking a lot about structure and routine. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, yeah, I should have mentioned that phrase, goal oriented behavior. That was something that we would write about in our notes when we were watching a person progress back into more stability. And let me also say that when a person was inpatient in a psychiatric facility, this was 25 years ago in the mid 90s. It was really, you know, a huge turnaround in the first couple of days for anybody. And that was, I think, mostly due to sleep and nutrition. The psychiatric medication would help, but more than anything, it was just getting rest and getting food and getting a structure and a schedule that would really get people back on their feet. And generally, it would take a couple of weeks before somebody would be discharged, because you really want to get their medications under control in a situation like that, when somebody's a danger to self or others due to mental health issues. Um, but really, honestly, if you've ever been hospitalized, or you know anybody who has been for psychiatric reasons, it really takes like a year to get stable and to really be fully back 100%. You know, if somebody's suicidal or just so unorganized that they can't tie their shoes, which brings me to one of my other addictions that I haven't mentioned to you guys. You guys are going to love this, and then I'll wrap up. Freaking codependency. Do you guys remember when that was a big term back in the 90s? And for anybody who's not familiar with it, being codependent is when you live with an addict or you're in a relationship with somebody who's really unhealthy, like maybe a serial killer or somebody that is just a psycho, right? There's a lot of those. So when you kind of mold yourself to this unhealthy person, or even if you're molding yourself to a healthy person, it's codependency and it's not healthy. Like we all need a certain amount of autonomy and independence to really be healthy. So what I learned is that people could be hospitalized. I knew of one hospital unit that was only for codependency, kind of the way you might have a psychiatric unit that's only for anorexics, for people with eating disorders, anorexia or bulimia. But that people can be so codependent that they cannot function. And that was really hard for me to wrap my mind around at first until I started to see it. And it is really scary to see somebody who like is so dependent on other people, like their partner or their kids or anyone, that they don't even know, like when they have an itch, if they should scratch it or not. I mean, that might sound silly, but it's true. It can be absolutely debilitating to the point of that they're a danger to themselves, not because they're going to hurt themselves, but just because they are unable to make the simplest decisions. Where are you at with AWP? Someone just said their new intro has Kylie in it, the girl they refuse to speak out for. I am upset with them. All it takes for evil to triumph. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. So I've been completely pissed off with them. And I also know that the last I really heard about them with Ryan Upchurch was that they had asked him to make their music for their channel. So I thought, wow, that says a lot, because we all know what Upchurch was up to with the Kylie Rodney case. And we all know that he took a lot of heat, and that AWP, by hiring him or having him donate it, he probably refused to take any money, but either way, that they're really taking a risk of having that affiliation with him at this time. And I thought, well, that's cool. If they do that, that speaks volumes. And StreamYard, you guys. Okay, we'll try. What is your email, please? I don't want to be jumping around, but let me just throw my email in there. Justice, ATOOZ @gmail.com. So to get back over to Upchurch and AWP, I think AWP has been great. I've been highly disappointed with them recently, and I'm hoping that they will come back around. I haven't given up on them entirely, but honestly, I did cancel my membership because I am pissed. I really am. Upchurch started the whole deep dive for me. I will always appreciate it. And like I said at the beginning of the show, the Red Flag Ronnie 1, Red Flag Ronnie 2, they're funny and also highly informative. So on that, I love you guys. You might not see me till tomorrow. I'm not going to make any promises either way. I'm just so appreciative, and I hope everyone has a great day. Don't forget to drink your water and eat your protein and your fruits and veggies, and get some exercise, get some sunshine and fresh air. It's so important. And just take it easy, be nice to yourself, kind to others, and enjoy yourself. Have a great Saturday, and I will see you soon. Thanks, guys. I just am so appreciative of you. I can't even put it into words.